Hey guys, Soundhusk here. Welcome back to Wizard101 Death Masterclass, Chapter 5. And today we are getting close to the finish here with Chapter 5 of 6. Today's chapter will be Spellweaving and miscellaneous tips and tricks. There is one thing in here. When we get to that slide, I will sort of what it's for is it's going to be a little basic thing, and then what we're going to do is we're going to cover it again in a different video that's not based on the um, Death Masterclass, but is tips for all wizards and such. Anyways, let's get started. So, what is Spellweaving and what it does? It allows you to tap into a secondary school and mix it with your own school, create different spells and other creative means of playing the game. It could give you some new spell combinations and other things to give you some new ways to take your identity that isn't of your base school and add into your toolbox of spell, i.e., fire, utilizing DOTs while also having the power of death at your side. Or maybe you want to have ice and you want to be a little bit of a healer. You can do that. Or myth taking the power of storm or something like that. Anyways, what spell weaving is best for you? This is subjective. At times, you can really use most of these. There are two prominent ones that come into mind. First one is Storm, as it is, directly beside Death, as they are both charm-based schools, so that could work to your advantage if you so choose. It could deal with Ice and Life, but it does also have the same similar weakness to Ice. And then, of course, its weaving comes with an extra blade for an extra damage charm, which can be used for Charm Gambit, like on your Wraith. And then the other one that comes to mind here is Fire, as it is directly diagonal across from Death. It comes with some neat spells that you can use. One that comes to mind is, I think, Ashen Bones or something like that. It's Pyre Dragon, I think it's called. But the reason why Fire might be a good option is it has the countering to Fire. Well, Fire has a counter to Myth and Ice, which Death's weaknesses are also Myth and Ice, so you can play a school that directly counters your counter. It still is subjective. Do what you want. It doesn't really matter. Like I said, you could, as it says here, you can still experiment with others if you want to, but Fire and Storm stand out as the two best schools to use, as one complements your ability to use some gambits on your death spells, and one is a direct counter to spells that you might need to deal with in certain fights. Consider these when using your weaving. Be sure to remember your school identity and what you can or can't do with the school you are weaving into. Complementary schools usually do something that you can use your setup gambits or can be used to cover your counters. You can utilize spell weaving to better levels as you better continue using it and understand the school identities through its matchups against your school. You're not going to see a lot of Death versus Fire match up, as, Death does not have traps or shields at times. Death can get shields through its gambits, which Fire can obviously utilize against you. But they don't have a true counter to your negative charms, unless they do something that can clear negative charms, which most fire weaving spells don't do. So there's a little bit of help for that. And now we'll get into the miscellaneous tips here. You should practice everything you have learned through these chapters. Repetition will give you more understanding of the school identity as a whole. Team-ups can help you practice team settings, or finding low levels needing assistance can also be a way to do it. Because there's no bad practicing this, especially if you want to do it in team ups, just so you can experiment a little bit, go for it. Do not be afraid to take time to fix your spell deck and also gear subs as well. You know, if you see something about your spell deck or gear setup that might seem a little something that you didn't want to put in there, or maybe you used it and you want to try something else, don't be afraid to switch it on the fly. Also, read the room in battles. So, what I mean by read the room, and we'll get into this as well, there's going to be two different things that are not inside of not inside the Death Masterclass, right? So what reading the room pretty much tells you is that there might be a certain move in your in your hand that works better than something else, and that's how you sort of read the room. And it's not like actually reading the room as you might think it is. We'll discuss it when we get into the battle, into like some battle segment stuff when we get to later videos and stuff and coaching for Wizard101. We would discuss stuff like this in the final episode. I don't think I touched it in the final episode, so I'll just go ahead and put a disclaimer here that we'll probably cover it in an entirely different video, talking about reading the room and also some healthy questing tips and stuff like that. And then also there might be, and then like I just said, there's going to be stuff discussed at later date, not inside the Death Masterclass, that can help you out. Oh, is that it? All right, that's it. Wow. Okay, so we flew by through this. And the main reason why is the fact that spellweaving is still such a very new concept in the game. It's the most recent sort of feature to school identity and stuff that we haven't had a real time to really, we've gotten an idea of what schools work best, but we don't have a lot of like extra weaving spells that can really spice up your gameplay at this time. There's obviously going to be new ones added as new content comes out, but just right now we just don't have a lot. So that's why, I put a little bit of miscellaneous tips, and that's why there really wasn't that much to talk about in the spell weaving section. But after all this, I think having a smaller chapter before we get to the finale is probably best. So yeah, thank you so much for stopping by and watching this episode and chapter of the Death Masterclass for Wizard101. If you have any extra questions or stuff, be sure to shoot a comment or follow onto my Discord, ask for help there. Join the Discord server for coaching if you want on-the-spot coaching and maybe some help with your death school prowess. And yeah, that being said, I will see you guys on the next, for our final and last chapter, which will be to chapter 6, which will be our conclusion to this Death Masterclass, and also some parting words of advice and certain other things that I did not put in this chapter. So I'll see you guys next time.